Welcome to the Michigan Football Report. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Saturday, July 28th, 5 weeks until Michigan football heads to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. Night game there against the Fighting Irish. We have 12 rumors to start off today's Michigan Football Report. Number one rumor, was Shea Patterson's arrival in Ann Arbor the reason Chase Winovich stayed for his 5th year? I am giving this one 3 Harbaugh heads. Now, Chase Winovich said that the Michigan quarterback play, the Michigan offensive line even, was such a concern last year that it was pushing him. He didn't think Michigan could win at the highest levels in 2018 with the quarterbacks and with the offense they had in 2017 unless something changed. He said when Shea Patterson visited in December, him and Shea were texting back and forth all the time. And he said, hey, bro, if you are eligible and can come to Michigan and our quarterback, I'm going to stay. And if I stay, I think the defense has the chance to lead Michigan to a national championship, Big Ten championship, playoff appearance, whatever the aspirations of this group of Michigan football players is for 2018. It has to be to beat Ohio State. Of course, it has to be to win a Big Ten championship with a national championship, I would think, being a little bit loftier of a goal. But Chase Winovich said Shea Patterson, a big reason, maybe the only reason he came back, thought he gave Michigan a chance to win, compete on offense, at the highest levels versus the putrid performance we saw in the 2017 season. That is a 3 Harbaugh heads. Means it is pretty likely that is the main reason that Chase Winovich came back for his 5th year senior season. Let's talk about what these Harbaugh heads means. 0 Harbaugh heads, totally false, fake news. 1 Harbaugh heads, a small shred of truth. 2 Harbaugh heads, people are talking 50-50. 3 Harbaugh heads, that means it is pretty likely. And if we give it the 4 Harbaugh heads, ladies and gentlemen, that means it is F-A-C-K, fact. That's how Jim Harbaugh spells it. That is how we spell it here at the Michigan Football Report at Chat Sports. Follow me on Twitter at James T. Yoder. That's me. I am James Yoder, the king of Michigan football media. I'm back as the king after a 1-week hiatus. We are the number 1 rated Michigan football program in the world, watched by more people than any other program. Let's get back into it. Rumor number 2. Was Karan Higdon just 6 yards, maybe a broken tackle away in the bowl game or any other game really for that point from going pro after the 2017 season? Well, that's what he said, so I'm giving it a 4 Harbaugh heads. He said he had a goal of 1,000 yards. If he hit the goal, he was going pro. Ended up the year with 994 yards, Karan Higdon did, which I think is pretty, I don't want to say ridiculous, but it's pretty unusual for someone to have that arbitrary of a goal to hit 1,000 yards. If he hits 1,001, hits 1,999, 994, whatever it is, that he was just going to go pro. I think you always got to keep extenuating circumstances in mind, or really just any circumstances in mind when making a lifelong decision or a life-impacting decision like going pro. But he said at Big Ten Media Week, so I'm going to give it Big Ten Media Day, I'm going to give it a 4 Harbaugh heads, F-A-C-K. You saw the list there of people that have been Michigan football 1,000-yard rushers. This is what Karan Higdon said. I was very close. If I touched 1,000 rushing yards, I was leaving. It wasn't meant to happen. That's how I look at it. He is back for his senior season, likely to be Michigan's starting running back. Of course, we're going to talk about that here later in the show. Michigan has only had 1 running back in the past 10 years. 1 running back eclipsed 1,000 yards. That is the kind of offensive drought that we have going on at Michigan football that started in 2008 with Rich Rodriguez. On to rumor number 3. Was Shea Patterson snubbed from an award watch list? Well, I'm only going to 2 Harbaugh heads, because snubbed, I think, is just your own opinion. Whether or not Shea Patterson deserved to be on the Davey O'Brien given out to the nation's top quarterback is really personal opinion. So 2 Harbaugh heads. Some Michigan fans are mad, say he was snubbed. Other people say, hey, this is a guy with a 5-5, 4-6 record, whatever it is, as a starter, has a much better passing stats against very poor teams, losing teams, than he does against winning teams against like Alabama or LSU. Shea Patterson doesn't really have the big-time 300 and 400-yard passing games against those teams like he did against teams with losing records. But we've got some other Big Ten quarterbacks, Hornibrook at Wisconsin, Brian Lewerke at Michigan State, and then, of course, Trace McSorley at Penn State on this Davey O'Brien award list. So some people are saying, hey, he's a better quarterback than some of those guys. Michigan has had quarterbacks on this watch list list in the past. In 2017, of course, Wilton Spate was on that list, coming off a really nice 2016 season. 2014 and 2013, Devin Gardner. 2011 and 2012, Denard Robinson. None of those guys really lived up to those expectations. I think the closest was 2011 with Denard Robinson coming off his big-time All-American record-setting 2010 year. But for the most part, if you get on one of these watch lists, you have a down year following that. So that's the list. That's who was on in the past. Shea Patterson not on it. But I think this is pretty interesting. I want to hear from you guys. The odds are out from the offshore books. BetDSI setting the odds on who's going to be Michigan football starting quarterback. If you look, Shea Patterson is minus 190. That means you've got to put up $100 to even, you got to put $200 to win 90. I think that's how the math works there. Brandon Peters, you put up 100, you get your 100 back, win 270. Check out Joe Milton there, plus 180. But check out Dylan McCaffrey, plus 1740. If you put down $100 and Dylan McCaffrey starts versus Notre Dame, you get your $100 back plus $1,740. That's how long the odds that the bookmakers see Dylan McCaffrey as starting quarterback. So I found that to be shocking. I will tell you what, I went to betdsi.com. You can go to chatsports.com/bet, and I put some big-time money down that Shea Patterson is going to be Michigan's starting quarterback. So I want to know from you guys in the comments below. Let me know if you looked at these odds. Shea Patterson, you got to put up twice as much money. If you put up 100, you only win 45 plus your 100, of course. Would you bet on Shea Patterson being the quarterback? If you would bet, type below the word bet. If you wouldn't bet, you think it's going to be Peters, McCaffrey, Milton, or maybe you're just not a gambler in general, put N for no in the comments. We're going to tally those up, let you guys know what the consensus is from the Michigan Football Report audience, the largest audience of any Michigan football program in these great United States. All right, on to rumor number 4, ladies and gentlemen. Was Jim Harbaugh owned by a reporter at Big Ten Media Days? I'm giving this one Harbaugh had because I don't think anybody's owning Jim Harbaugh in that kind of setting. But this is the exchange that happened between Jim Harbaugh and a Michigan State reporter. Take a listen.
Coach Crowley Sullivan, Spartans Wire. A little bit of a follow-up on that question. You came into Ann Arbor with perhaps the most hype of any coach in the history of the Big Ten, maybe in all of college football. A few years later, you've got a third place, and fourth place finish, and you're 1-5 against Michigan State and Ohio State. What do you have to do this year to demonstrate to the Michigan community that you are on the path to achieving what they hired you to achieve?
That man's name is Crowley Sullivan from Spartans Wire, Michigan State writer, starting up a sports media company himself. I spoke to Crowley on Wednesday. I've known him for a little bit. I think the video portrayed him, rather smug because he leaned back. But I think it was just Michigan fans and maybe the Michigan media who is super protective of Jim Harbaugh that got upset about that question. I don't think the question was unfair at all. I think nationally, if you listen to the national radio shows that look at things objectively, Sullivan got praise for that question because a lot of times these coaches just get softballs thrown at them. They can hit out of the park, but hit them 1-5 versus your rivals. If this was Rich Rodriguez, if this is Brady Hoke, if this is any coach other than Jim Harbaugh, he would be getting roasted for his record versus Michigan State and Ohio State. Now, people are going to say, there's a play away from beating Ohio State in 2016, a play and a fumble away from beating Michigan State in 2015. That gets him at 3-3 if there's not a monsoon and they don't have the worst play calling in Michigan football history last season against Michigan State. Could it be 4-2? A coulda, shoulda, woulda, but the fact remains he is 1-5 versus two biggest rivalries, and I think the question is fair. When will Michigan? It is now year 4. By year 4, Nick Saban was going for his second national title at Ohio State. Urban Meyer won his second national title at Florida by year 4. So when will it happen for Michigan football? So I want to know from you guys, do you have confidence? You see the question there. You don't need me to read it. If Michigan loses to Michigan State this year, will you lose confidence in Jim Harbaugh? Press yes, type yes. If you will lose confidence, below in the comments, type no. If you will not lose confidence, it's just one game. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Just thinking about it, I would lose confidence because he'd be 1-3 versus Michigan State going in his 4th year. I would not have confidence that Jim Harbaugh is the man for the job long term if he has that kind of record against a team that many have called little brother. All right, rumor number 5 is Jim Harbaugh won a 16-team playoff. Some people, roasted him for this a little bit because they said, hey, even if there was a 16-team playoff, would that matter to Michigan? Well, not in 2017, maybe in 16, of course. But here's what Jim Harbaugh had to say on this topic.
The thoughts on the playoff system, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is more would be more. More would be better. In the playoffs, 4 in right now. Let's go to 8 and eventually get to 16.
I want to tell you guys about the Chat Sports YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe below. Type in that URL, youtube.com/chatsportstv. If you want to check out directly all the Michigan content from the world's #1 Michigan football program, Michigan Football Report, go ahead and chatsports.com/YouTube Michigan. No matter if you're on computer, laptop, phone, it'll redirect you to the right place. Open up the YouTube app if you're on your phone, and you can hit subscribe there. Know every single time that we go, put some content out there on the Michigan football program. All right, on to the next rumor. Ladies and gentlemen, was Jim Harbaugh noticeably quiet at media days? Well, 3 Harbaugh heads. I'm actually going to give this one a call pretty likely. He was rather quiet. He wasn't very boastful. He didn't tweet about any other coaches. He didn't go out there and talk trash like he has in the past. Most notably at Stanford, a little bit when he's at Michigan, when he's at the 49ers. When he's at Stanford, his second and third years, he was saying things at Pac-12 media days like, "Oh, Pete Carroll's going to the pros next year." He was always talking kind of trash. Didn't say anything. Didn't really give any answers of substance about anything when asked about the 2018 Michigan football team. When Crowley Sullivan from Spartans Wire came at him, he basically said, success will, this will lead to this, will lead to this. Didn't give any specifics, didn't get an attitude. So noticeably quiet. I would say it's pretty likely. People have said that he was more reserved than past years. Don't know if that means he's been humbled a little bit, or maybe he's very confident in his team. He thinks that the product in the field will be what he wants to show versus his own theatrics or his own opinions on that platform. All right, rumor number 7 is 5-star Dax Hill leaning towards Michigan. This is the topic of the day around Michigan football. I wanted to kind of bury it here in the middle of the show a little bit to get people just seething on this one. I want to throw up this tweet from 24/7 Sports Oklahoma Insider. The guy's name is Brandon Drum. Now, Hill has been rumored to be an Oklahoma lean for a long time. He is from the state of Oklahoma. Insider note, Dax Hill in Oklahoma is still a thing. He has the inside access on that. This is what the article said. Dax basically told, this is 5-star safety from Oklahoma, Dax Hill basically told Oklahoma that he wouldn't be coming to Norman, and he was leaning to other places. Now, the word is now that Michigan, so here continue on, Dax could be leaning to Michigan, like I reported on a couple occasions, is what the quote ends with. And the depth of this article, and now what's come out in the last 12 to 24 hours from some of the Michigan football reporting guys like Brandon Brown and Sam Webb, very good friends of mine, say that, hey, we think Michigan co-leads with Alabama or might have a slight edge on Alabama. Got the word from a few people that, hey, is Hill going to come to Michigan this weekend for the barbecue at the Big House? Haven't heard that yet, but wouldn't be surprised. He was supposed to go to Oklahoma this weekend, canceled that visit altogether, and with that, Michigan has to be very excited about their ability to get this player, be one of the biggest gets of Jim Harbaugh's coaching career at Michigan from a recruiting perspective. It is a 2024 running back considering Michigan. Well, he is considering Michigan. Running back's name is Gavin Williams. He is a 2020, meaning he's coming into his junior year of high school. Michigan has 2 big-time running backs in the 2019 class, so this guy would be kind of icing on the cake. But said this weekend that Michigan's showing him a lot of love. I should have said this week, Michigan's showing him a lot of love, that he really likes Michigan. He would love to go there for a visit, would like to check out the school. So we're giving this one a 2 Harbaugh heads. I don't like to get into 2020 recruiting until we're even close to getting over 2019, but with all the number of recruits Michigan has for the 2019 class, 18 guys committed right now with the decommitment early this week of Stephen Herron. You see the recruiting results there. Michigan's fluctuated from the 20s all the way up to multiple top 10 classes under Jim Harbaugh. Keep an eye out for the 2020 class to emerge later this fall. Another 2020 note, number 9 is Michigan gaining on California 5-star wide receiver Johnny Wilson. Another people are talking. A lot of kids will say things when they get some, show some love from schools they don't hear a lot about. If you're living in California, unless you're living in downtown LA or San Francisco, you're not hearing a ton about Michigan football from just your local school peers. So Michigan's showing him a lot of love. One of the best wide receivers in the 2019 class. Michigan really needs to have a big year from the wide receiver recruiting perspective in 2019 because guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones, Nico Collins, Tariq Black will all be in their third year next year. By 2020, when those kids are on campus, they'll all be in their fourth year if they're still even on campus. Peoples-Jones, Black, may they go pro after this year. We will see. So Michigan on the road going after skill players to the 2020 class. Something to keep an eye on. We're giving that one to Harbaugh heads. All right, let's take it to a weigh-in here, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a question for you guys. How would you grade Jim Harbaugh as a recruiter so far? We saw what we've done, top 10 class right now this year. Bad class in 18, but 2 top 10 classes in 17 and 16 is first for all 2 classes. Type below, watching on Facebook, watching on YouTube, A, B, C, D, or F. If you want to give a plus, you want to give a minus, that's fine with me. But go ahead and grade Jim Harbaugh as a recruiter. I'm going to go ahead with a B. That 2018 class was way too low for me to give him anything higher than that. I might be shifting towards a B minus, so we'll see how this 2018 class shakes out. But I will say this, a lot of that's those 16, 17 guys that were underrated are going to be stars in the field this year. So maybe as a recruiter, but as a developer, he's doing a little bit better than some of the recruiting pundits expect. Rumor number 10 is Karan Higdon not your starting running back? Well, Jim Harbaugh was asked about it, and he said, we haven't named a starting running back. It could be any of a number of guys. Classic coach speak. I'm giving this one Harbaugh head. Now, I think there's a chance that Chris Evans could overtake Higdon. Clearly, Higdon was the best running back last year, but he didn't get the starting nod until week 4 or 5. They really had him on the bench for the first part of the year. For some reason, Tim Drevno kind of kept in there, but I'm giving this a one Harbaugh head. I think Higdon is your for sure guy. There's always a chance that Chris Evans could jump over him. So answer the question for us right now. We're trying to switch up these answers because a lot of people were saying the 1s and 2s. They couldn't figure out who was voting for what. So go ahead below. Who's going to be the starting running back against Notre Dame 5 weeks from today? H for Higdon, E for Chris Evans. Type it below. We'll tally those up. I'm going with an H on that one. I don't see there's any way that they don't start Karan Higdon after that 994 year in his junior year in 2017. All right, Mike McCray, he retired. Was it because he was not loving football? Well, I'm going to give this one. It's 3 Harbaugh heads. I guess we put it at. I don't know about this one. He said he's not loving football. I got to take him for his word. But in general, does Mike McCray, he's a decent player at Michigan, but was he not retiring because he didn't have a football career, or was it because he didn't love football, and that's the reason why? So I think that from what I've heard, he certainly didn't love the game of football, but if someone was cutting him a $10 million check to be on the Dolphins next year, would he still be playing football? I think you have to make a pretty fair assumption that he would still be playing football in the NFL if he was going to be picked up after being a starter for Michigan last year. So Mike McCray retired from the game of football. He says this is maybe because not the love. He's been playing for so long and he wants to do other things in his life. He's only 23. I think he can give it a shot if a shot would have been there. So 3 Harbaugh heads based on what he said. But, if this was Jabril Peppers, I think there'd be other questions that we'd be asking. Mike McCray, maybe not as good of a shot. All right, last one from the Michigan football rumors is Conor McGregor, is he rooting against Notre Dame but for Michigan in the September 1st Michigan-Notre Dame night game? Well, Chase Winovich was asked about this for some reason at Big Ten Media Days. Here's what Chase Winovich had to say.
It was a 1 minute conversation.
It was a 1 minite conversation. It was quick, but we said a lot. We both speak pretty fast. So at first I started off by saying basically how much respect I had for him, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. He goes, "It goes both ways, brother," and that was cool.
It's funny, and so what they were telling me in my ear is that he wasn't even asked about Conor McGregor. He thought someone said Conor, and he thought he was asking about Conor McGregor. They took a phone call recently, and Conor McGregor is rooting against the Irish. Breaking news called Chase Winovich a beast. Said he liked his style, liked his hair, and he said he's rooting for you guys. Go get him against this Notre Dame Fighting Irish in South Bend 5 weeks from today. Those were your Michigan football rumors. I am the king of Michigan football media, James Yoder. Thank you for watching this segment.